The unmanifested attendees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, Chapter 18. The residents of Jambudvipa offer prayers. Text number 31. Yat Rupam Etan Nija Mayayarpitam Arta Swarupam Bahurupa Rupitam Sankhya Na Yasyasti Ayato Palam Banat Tasmai Namaste Vyapadesha Rupine Yadrupametan Nijamaya Yarpitam Artaswarupam Bahurupa Rupitam Sankyana Yasyasyatai Yatapo Lampanat Tasmai Namaste Vyapadesha Rupine Yadrupametan Nijamaya Yarpitam Artaswarupam Bahurupa Rupitam Sankyana Yasyasyattayato Palambanat Tasmai Namaste Vyapadesha Rupine Yadrupametan Nijamaya Yarpitam Artaswarupam Bahurupa Rupitam Tasmai Namaste Vyapadesha Rupine
Yadrupametam Nijamaya Yarpitam
Yadrupametam Nijamaya Yarpitam
Artaswarupam Bahurupa Rupitam
Artaswarupam Bahurupa Rupitam
Yayato Palambanat
Sankyana Yasyasyato Palambanat Tasmai Namaste Vyapadesha Rupine. Anyone else? Ladies? Rupamita Rupa Rupitam Andharjapam Rupa Rupinam Sankyana Yasyasyato Palambanat Namai Namaste Vyaparupa Rupine Rupametam Nijamaya Yarpitam Artaswarupam Bahurupa Rupitam Sankyana Yasyasyato Palambanat Tasmai namaste Vyapadesha Rupine Rupametan Nijamaya Yarpitam Artha Swarupam Nijarupa Rupitam Sankyana Yasyasya Yatopalambanat Tasmai namaste Vyapadesha Rupine. Okay, thank you. Yat, of whom? Rupam, the form. Etat, this. Rupamaya yarpitam. Rupamaya yarpitam. Manifested in your personal potency. Artha Swarupam. This entire visible cosmic manifestation. Bahurupa Rupitam. Manifests in various forms. Sankhya, the measurement. Na, not. Yasya, of which. Asti, there is. Ayata, falsely. Upalambanat, from perceiving. Tasmai, unto him the Supreme Lord. Nama, my respectful obeisances. Te, unto you. Avyapadesh, cannot be ascertained by mental speculation. Rupine, whose real form. Translation. My dear Lord, this visible cosmic manifestation is a demonstration of your own creative energy, since the countless varieties of forms within this cosmic manifestation are simply a display of your external energy. This Virata Rupa, universal body, is not your real form. Except for a devotee in transcendental consciousness, no one can perceive your real form. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Mayavadi philosophers think the universal form of the Lord to be real and His personal form illusory. We can understand their mistake by a simple example. A fire consists of three elements, heat and light, which are the energy of the fire, and the fire itself. Anyone can understand that the original fire is the reality, and that the heat and light are simply the fire's energy. Heat and light are the formless energies of fire, and in that sense, they are unreal. Only the fire has form, therefore it is the real form of the heat and light. As Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita 9:4. Everyone knows that one, right? Everybody can say it. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina. By me and my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. Thus the impersonal conception of the Lord is like the expansion of heat and light from a fire. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord also says, Matstani sarva bhutani na chaham teshvavastita. The entire material creation is resting on Krishna's energy, either material, spiritual, or marginal. But because his form is absent from the expansion of his energy, he is not personally present. This inconceivable expansion of the Supreme Lord's energy is called Achintya Shakti. Therefore, no one can understand the real form of the Lord without becoming his devotee. Om Agana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chaksuramilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sajajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarane Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gora Trishe Namaha. Panchatatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Tat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinatarane. Krishna Tudiya Padapankaja Panjarantam Adhyaiva Me Visitatu Manasaraja Hansan Prana Prayama Samaye Kapavata Pittai Kantavaro Danavido Smaranam Kutaste. I was reading this book about Rasikananda, and he has, I don't know how many pages of listing off names of devotees that he's praying for the mercy of to be able to speak. So we should be doing that. I don't know the names of all the devotees. We heard so many devotees and how they did so much to establish this movement and this temple, so we have an easy life. Things are, Prabhupada got it started and empowered people to get things done. So now we have all the books, we have temples, we have guest houses, we have hot water, we have a lot of luxury, and a lot of devotees to support us. So we have to be grateful, to understand the causeless mercy of Srila Prabhupada manifesting through all these devotees, young and old both. Krishna sending all kinds. So this verse is about the Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, which is very, very important. Lord Chaitanya, he took essential things from all the four sampradayas, and he perfected everything with this Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, that simultaneously the same and different. That's Krishna. And without understanding this Achintya Shakti of the Lord, Jiva Goswami said, we cannot understand Krishna. That's why the Mayavadis, the materialists, they just get bewildered and they just think it's some, it's not true. even Lord Brahma got bewildered, apparently, thinking, how can this small boy holding a flute in one hand and some sweet rice in the other hand, how can he be the Supreme Lord? Right? The devotees can accept that. Krishna says, Bhakti mama jananti yavanyas chasmi tatvata. Only by bhakti can we know Krishna as he is, standing there, that Krishna. The Mayavadis will say, even when they supposedly teach Bhagavad Gita, unfortunately they're completely opposite, but they'll say, it's not that Krishna who's standing there that's speaking, it's something unknown, something else, some spirit. So this Bhagavad Gita, this verse, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyaktamurti matstani sarva bhutani achaham te sutastata. He's within everything, he's without everything, everything is resting on him, but he's also outside of everything. It's a chincha. He's everything at the same time. Prabhupada mentioned that, and he actually instructed the GBC that every year in Mayapur they should discuss this Achincha Beta Beta thing, this unity and diversity. So we're seeing that in ISKCON. One Hindu temple in Atlanta, they're advertising that this is the only Hindu temple in the world that accommodates all different types of Hindus. I don't know if that's true, but in ISKCON we have not only that, but we have people from all over the world, all different cultures, different languages, different ages, somehow or other all coming together because Krishna is in the center. Krishna is real. The Prabhupada says in this purport that the Mayavadis think that the Virat Rupa, the universal form, is real. That's the material energy or something. But they don't believe in the transcendental form of Krishna. They think that it's just some sort of a projection or a hologram or something of this unknown, whatever it is, oneness. The Vedic Mayavadis call it oneness. The Voidists, they call it nothingness. But something comes out from this nothingness. And they seem to accept that, but they can't accept that something's coming out from the Supreme Person. But when we look around, and nowadays even many scientists, there were religious people that talked about intelligent design quite some time ago, but Prabhupada really pushed it and made it something that got a lot of people thinking about it, by the massive book distribution and the preaching, his own preaching to everyone he met, and the devotees' preaching, and especially Bhagavad Gita. It's an inconceivable, unmeasurable, what kind of influence the Bhagavad Gita, as it is having on the world. Some people are slightly aware of it. They're writing articles. How the Hare Krishnas are taking over, but nobody knows. Like in America, when Prabhupada came, vegetarianism was considered some sort of dangerous fanaticism. But now it's, doctors are recommending. When I became vegetarian, the doctor said, maybe you can live, he said. He was totally bewildered. Maybe you can live, he said. But now, maybe you can live if you eat meat, that doctor said. And that's a fact. And kirtan has become popular, although, Mayavadis are preventing it, but meditation, all kinds of things that are yoga, all coming from, Bhagavad Gita, and the preaching of devotees. People are taking up this bit, the environment, the vegetarianism, kindness to animals, all these things that were not very prominent or practically unheard of because of the Bhagavad Gita. And that's just a little bit influencing so many things in the media and even Hollywood. These ideas are coming. People now, they know something reincarnation. So we know, it's stated here, that you cannot know the real form of Krishna unless one is a devotee. That Krishna reveals himself. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. For one who's constantly devoted and worships me with love, then I give intelligence by which he can come to me. You can't, it's not, like that from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The Bhagavatam is not, they got the answer from Lord Shiva somehow or other that Shukadev may know, and I may know, and Vyasadeva may know or may not know the Bhagavatam. He's a speaker of the Bhagavatam, he wrote it, but he's saying he might know or he might not know, but because it's not understood by intellect, it's not understood by, by one's own endeavor. Krishna is not understood like that. Krishna reveals himself to someone who tries to serve him. So we're very fortunate. Prabhupada taught, to serve Krishna right off. And not only did he make the books, that teach us how to serve Krishna, not only did he travel and constantly tell people to serve Krishna, but he made all these society for the purpose of providing opportunity to serve Krishna by whatever level one can serve on, even if they just come and bow down, or like here so many people offer flowers, or, they're under some kind of service. He gave us prasadam. So it's a very special thing, so we can actually understand Krishna is a person, the supreme person, the original person. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Our Brahma is saying, I worship Govinda, the original person. Original. There's no one else can be that. Fools claim you can be, they am God, or you can be God, or we're all God. But God means the original person, the inconceivable origin of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. Iti matva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samanvitara. I'm the source of everything. Everything comes from me, and Prabhupada adds it, both material and spiritual, to make it clear that he's the source of all the incarnations, all the avatars. Krishna is not an avatar. Krishna is the avatari. He's the original. So we need to get the mercy of Krishna and get the mercy of the devotees. I hope you're praying. I was going to say, there's one big Christian preacher in America, and when he's speaking, he has a team of his members who pray that he will be able to speak nicely. A special team praying, that he can speak in such a way to get people to join up or to surrender. So we need that. We need all the devotees to, if you come to listen attentively. We can only speak according to, the audience. We all know that. We have to adjust sometimes. For brand new people, for older devotees, for this or that. But if we talk about Krishna, we talk about Prabhupada, especially like the last few days, hearing about Prabhupada, everybody's fascinated. In that book, the Rasikananda, the author is saying that It's very wonderful to hear the pastimes of Krishna. It's very purifying and elevating, but it's more purifying and elevating to hear about the great souls, the great devotees. So we heard how, and it happens to me, devotees are always asking me, what is your experience with Prabhupada? Well, here it is, it's the books. I can't know how many times I heard service in separation is higher when someone else was going off to meet Prabhupada somewhere. But Prabhupada is all pervasive because he left the whole society, so all the devotees represent Prabhupada. He's in the heart of everyone, and the books especially, the temples. He established so many temples. We heard a little bit about how difficult it was to get this temple going, Bombay Temple. Even I went to Bombay in 1978 and I was working with Giriraj Swami, and still we hadn't finished all the legal, permission that we needed to make the temple function. And that one little last thing was such a headache. We would go every day trying to get this no objection certificate or whatever it was. And they would always say, we don't know, it must be at another office in the other side of Bombay. That meant you go the next day, because Bombay is too big, you can't. So we went back and forth, it's just completely crazy what to do. And then finally we went to Hinduja, Mr. Hinduja, and Giriraj told him, we're having trouble to get this. He said, well, did you bribe them? And he said, no, we didn't bribe them. He laughed. He said, you have to bribe them. He said, they won't do anything. He said, who's your architect? And we told him, you're Premnath. He called on the phone. He talked in Hindi for 5 minutes or something. He said, can you give Premnath 200 rupees? He said. So we gave him 200 rupees, and the next day we got their certificate. That was towards the end. You can't imagine what it was like in the early days, with all the inimical people wanting to take the property, wanting to stop the construction, and, all the diseases. And those days, now we have luxury here in India. We have bottled water and, so many things that didn't have in those days. Everybody was sick all the time. But Prabhupada pushed everyone and enlivened everyone to get it done. So we can try to think of Krishna. And we had the kirtan of the holy name, which is also inconceivable. You can't really explain it. Prabhupada was asking devotees once, how do you know Krishna is God? Anybody know? How do you know Krishna is God?
Feel it.
Huh?
Feel it.
That's the answer, yeah. They gave many, he said, feeling. Devotees were saying, well, the Bhagavad Gita says, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Acharyas say this, that. Prabhupada is saying, no, no, no. So, it's bewildering, right? Was it you that said? Somebody said, I feel it. I feel like Krishna is God, Prabhupada said. Huh? That's, you feel it. He said, that's right. You feel it. So that's inconceivable, but that's, that's what we get. How do you explain even like I was teaching Bhagavad Gita, or at least presenting Bhagavad Gita a lot in China in November, and, I was really praying, like, how can I present this? These are people who practically never heard of Krishna. But I told them that we don't expect you to understand this like you understand your computer manual or, whatever else you have, how to operate your iPhone or something. But you want you to become attached, to feel it, that this is something really great. This is really doing something for my life, We want to touch the heart of people, and that means we have to have the heart touch Krishna. We have to know feel it, and then that it spreads. We see it, devotees, that brand new devotees even can influence so many people to take books or, to join the kirtan or something, because they're feeling ecstasy. Yesterday we went for Harinam up there by that Prema Mandir, which is lifeless, but outside the people were dancing so much they went wild. They were jumping like it was quite amazing. So many people, and then at one point there was about 4 or 5. They were all very well dressed and young boys. I know I talked to them afterward. They're all students from Delhi. They were just chanting like anything, because the energy of the devotees just distracted them from everything else. And we see that all over the world, anywhere we go. Maya's kingdom is out there. I was just in Japan. We had a big Harinam party after a long time, and people were responding. I started thinking like that radiation, and it must have had some effect on people, because they're responding to the Harinam like they never did before the last couple years. And I was wondering why, and I thought maybe that's it. Maybe for whatever way it affected them, they started to realize that, nothing is permanent, or there's something else, or whatever it is. And it's just Krishna's mercy, because the Japanese people gave a lot of money to build these temples in India. They provided all the cameras that devotees use for all their preaching, right? Most of the cars we use. So they're getting some Gata Sukriti. Even Prabhupada, when they asked him how, he said his advancement was because of a Gata Sukriti, unknown pious activities. So that's a special mercy of devotees, that they utilize everything in Krishna's service. So all the people who are providing those things, they may be doing it just for a living, or for whatever reason, but when devotees use those things in Krishna's service, and the benefit goes to everyone. So it's a all-pervasive, inconceivable thing. You can't really trace it out. We can't trace out like how we got into the material world, but we can learn how to get out. It's not so hard. It's not complicated. It might be difficult to give up everything, but devotees somehow or other inspired. I had the good fortune to meet Chintamani Devi the other day. She was a pioneer in Japan with Sudama, and these, inconceivable. Sudama just said, "I'm going to go. I'm going to go to Japan to make a temple. Do you want to marry me and go with me?" And she went. And then they were there, and just going on Harinam, just 2 of them every day. And in those days, nobody paid any attention. But Prabhupada came a few times. One very famous time, and then he came and he arranged a printing of the Krishna book and Back to Godhead in huge numbers and things like that. And then the second time Prabhupada came, Sudama asked Prabhupada if he could take sannyas, and then Prabhupada said yes, and he came and said, "I'm going to take sannyas." And so then she was sent to the Philippines to start a temple, but she had the original deities there in Japan with Jagannath, and somehow they took them off the altar, and so she was taking care of them, and then she took them with her, and finally she was back in LA, and they were telling her, "You can't have your own deities." So she went to Prabhupada and asked him. And Prabhupada said, "Well, your husband took sannyas, so, every woman needs a brother and a sister and a husband. Jagannath can be your husband, and Balaram can be your brother, and Subhadra can be your sister." So she still has those deities. Still. That's from 1972, 71 originally, I think. There's amazing things devotees have done. And, to get things started, so we go somewhere and, something has been started, some purification has come in. So now we really need to take advantage. This is a time in the world when many, many people are thinking philosophically a little bit, realizing, that they're ruining the environment, that they're poisoning the food, that the medicine is poison, that, the politics is corrupt, and, it's just advertised everywhere, right? In every country. It's not only India that's corrupt, it's everywhere. Some places are just more surreptitious or clandestine about their corruption. It's not so obvious, as India. But everywhere is corrupt. People are just in it for their own benefit. People are looking for answers, seeking. Now they want to be spiritual, not religious. Now that's probably something we started also. And anybody that was people used to tell us, we don't like organized religion. And we would say, that's good, because we are not organized. Right? And that was true. But now it's getting more and more organized, but it's spiritual. It's not a religion like, a club. My church, my religion, my God, people say. I don't believe in your God. And they don't know anything about God. We believe in everybody's God. Krishna's everywhere, and he has so many different ways that he appears. But we also know Krishna, so we want to see unity and diversity. We should be thinking about that. How we can come together with everybody, find the unity and all the diversity. We often, a tendency is to look for diversity and the unity, to look for the problems and the solutions. Pessimist, but Prabhupada was a total optimist. He was the prime positive thinker ever. One conversation I like, one reporter was saying, well, what do you do about negativity? And Prabhupada was going like, what? What do you mean? And she said, negativity. Finally she said, some people don't like you. They're criticized. He said, how many books did we sell last week? And the devotee said some amount. Prabhupada said, see, a lot of people like us. And then she said, but like, people are against you. What do you think about them? Why should I think about them? I think about the people that like us. And she said, wow, that's really positive, So it's a good idea for a preacher to look for to remember the positive thing. Look what's going on. So many problems are there, but there's one solution. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam. Kaloa nasteva, nasteva, nasteva. Gatiranyata. When I joined, that was almost the only Sanskrit sloka anybody knew, except for the Mahamantra and the Prabhupada pranams and Panchatattva, right? Few devotees had, from the purports and the Bhagavatam, they knew a few Gita verses, but not much. But we would always sing that, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. Kaloa nasteva, 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 gatir anyata. And we're always talking about taking over the world. Right? I don't hear that very much anymore. The world's taking us over, oh my God, We had a very interesting meeting in Mayapur called the Guru Sannyasi GBC Sangha. So we went over the history of, ISKCON and what happened in ISKCON and what happened personally in our lives and what's happening outside. So, we were putting, like Vietnam, all these things, up on top, all the crazy things that are happening in the world. And one friend of Brajbihari Prabhu, he brought with him, he's a professor in the university in Washington, D.C., and he's very, very favorable to ISKCON. And he was enjoying, and I asked him, what do you think about all this? He said, yeah, it's really good, except, he said, I don't like, you put so many negative things going on outside. He said, there's so many good things happening. And he started telling about all the positive influence, and it's true, because of the negative things, and largely because of our kirtan and Bhagavad Gita distribution, there is, like I said, all these vegetarian movements, ecology movements, many, many anti-abortion, animal rights, and so many things that, were spurred on by the Sankirtan movement, cutting edge. So the holy name, we're waking up again, so we're in a lot of these kirtan melas, more and more, by the mercy of Russians mostly, there's big Harinam parties traveling all over the place, groups of Russians that just chant all day wherever they go. I don't know if you've witnessed them, but it really wakes up cities, wakes up the devotees. When 12 or 15 energetic young people come and just do Harinam all day, it's very, very important in making us all realize that, what that does for us. It's our best advertising, and it's free. The other kinds of advertising are very expensive, but Harinam is free. One devotee, they were studying advertising in London, and they were teaching how in advertising you have color, and you have sound, and you have movement, and you have this, and a lot of different factors. And he put on a little movie, and he said, now this is something that has all the things you need for successful advertising. It was a Harinam party. Very colorful, and everybody's jumping and dancing and singing. And so we should be aware of that, and anywhere and everywhere. There's practically no limit. You can go anywhere, and there'll always be people that like it, and a few people won't like it. Usually they just go away, or we have to move along. But this is what's really done it. That's why so many people joined always, because of the prasadam, Prabhupada said, but ultimately kirtan also. Get together when devotees sadhu sangha means harinama, harinama eva kevalam. Become convinced that, there's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. There's not by jnana, not by karma, not by mystic powers, siddhi, yoga. That's not going to save us, or it's not going to change the world. But the holy name, enters into the ear, and then it enters into the heart. We want to have millions of years, Rupa Goswami said. How does that go in Sanskrit? Can't remember the first word. Karna, Krodha, Kadambina, that's the second line. That when we hear the holy name, we want to have millions of years, and when we chant, we know one tongue is not enough. We need many. One way to do that is to have more and more devotees join the kirtan. And then when the holy name enters into the heart, the mind becomes stunned, and the senses become inert. That one can only think about the holy name. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Hare Rama. One more time, all right? So we make the whole thing worthwhile. So if there's no other value to what I'm saying, at least we had a little chanting. Bhaktisiddhanta, they said when the devotees wrote something, he would count how many times they put the holy name. And if there were many, he'd say, "This is very good." And if there weren't so many, he'd reject it. And the devotees would be frustrated because it didn't look like he really read, what they wrote. But Prabhupada said that at least my books, if they have any value, I put the name of Krishna so many times. And so when people read the book, it's they're chanting Krishna. But so whatever we do, we want to think how to control the mind. Prabhupada said, think about how to spread the holy name. That's how to control the mind. How can we get someone else to chant? How can we get someone else to, come to the temple or take prasadam or read the book, whatever way it works, people regularly get that dose. People are hearing the holy name all over the world. The devotees are giving out mantras. So that's basic things we never, shouldn't be given up. Harinama, book distribution, prasadam distribution, however we do it, whatever sophisticated means we find to gather people together for kirtan, but that's the whole purpose. We want everyone to chant the holy name. More and more people are coming to Vrindavan. It's inconceivable, another thing, with how much so-called development is going on around here. Because in 75, when we would walk up this road, there was nothing, forest, and once in a while a bullock cart would come by. That was Prabhupada had one lecture, he said, Vrindavan is so nice, there's no cars. So if you hear that now, you'd think, well, what is he not talking about, there's too many cars. They're all from Delhi, but I remember asking people from Delhi back in the 70s and 80s, have you ever been to Vrindavan? They went like, what's Vrindavan? Now they all have houses here. Not all, but thousands of them. They have their houses in Vrindavan. They take their holiday in Vrindavan. It's all Prabhupada's energy, the devotees that are all over the world spreading the holy name, distributing Prabhupada's books, opening temples, worshiping deities. It's Prabhupada's energy, and it's bringing, people to Krishna. Achintya, Veda, Veda, Tattva. Krishna is everywhere, all pervasive. He's inside and outside of everything. Bahir, Nishinga, Hridaye, Nishinga. He's inside and he's outside. He's everywhere, right? Yato, Yamita, Nishinga. He's everywhere, he's over here, he's over there. Where is he? He's everywhere. The devotee can see that. We know something, at least we know Krishna's here, and he's in every temple around here. He's everywhere. Sometimes manifest, sometimes